I've got a little story for you. Since the dawn of time, players have launched projectile flight time things into Magnetize and watched them orbit around and or get stopped by a wall. The classic is the Lanka, which I'm attempting to use here in close quarters. Here we go, this will be better. Oh yeah, that's the stuff. There it is, look at that. It's even flying through the... Okay, that's... Well, anyway, the classics like the Lanka. And in Mag's framework, I talked about the technologically spicier option of having your Sentinel shoot the Lanka with the Volclock, which is basically just a Lanka for your Sentinel. Those options have well and truly had their day. But there is another, darker prospect in this same vein. A railgun that fires with such force, such sheer excessive forward momentum, that not even the awesome power of Magnetize can contain it. I'm speaking, of course, about the Velocitus. The name is literally the word velocity. You know what you're getting into here. Others have experimented with negative projectile flight speed on a Riven to slow down the bullets to the point that they can be contained by Magnetize, but unfortunately that doesn't work. Now, here in this video, I'm going to use a new and profound combination of abilities in hopes of guiding this supermassive blob of overkill damage to its destination. Now, let's demonstrate the problem before we get to the glorious solution. We'll summon in some enemies, use a high-range Magnetize, and fire in that Velocitus bullet. Ooh, it just flies right out. Like a gravity slingshot, it is able to hit the enemies inside, but cannot be contained due to its sheer high velocity. Something else pretty cool that happens, incidentally, is if you fire them without charging them up, they do this like scribble looking thing. You can see like the bullet trails kind of flying around in these crazy orbits. So this is why it's so thought-provoking, because it's not like the bullet just flies right out. Like it does, of course. It looks like what's happening is it sort of slingshots to the side, a gravity slingshot out of the bubble, which is something that I'm not aware any other weapon does. And yet, if you fire the uncharged shots, they seem to sort of stay inside. I do not know what's happening. And again, negative projectile flight speed doesn't seem to solve this problem, and so we have to take drastic measures. Anyway, full disclosure, I don't know if this is gonna work. I didn't try this before recording this video. Zada's Whisper ahoy! Why am I even doing this? Like, is the damage really going to be that amazing compared to... You could just shoot the Lanka. You could shoot basically any weapon with projectile travel time, and it will do the big damage. So why does it have to be the Velocitus? I honestly could not tell you. I do not know. Something that I really like to do when I make builds is look at, something that is a powerful interaction with a Warframe. So the Lanka, you can use basically any other projectile flight time weapon with punch through, but the Lanka is good. It's a good example of a weapon like that. And then think, okay, well, the primary weapon slot is relatively more valuable than the heavy weapon slot. There's not very much utility in the heavy weapon slot. It's a very extra weapon, and a lot of them are they're good weapons, but they're pretty basic. And so being able to offload the Lanka to the heavy weapon slot, get that utility or that nice synergy, except not in the primary weapon slot, put it in a less valuable slot, is a way to add more stuff to a loadout. Sure, I suppose. It's just that this is not a particularly valuable thing. Anyway. Yes, so now we have Zada's Whisper, and what the idea here is that, of course, if I shoot in another projectile beforehand, it'll make bubbles on the bubbles, and then we can take off. So in the framework build, we have Magnetize Discharge, so you can't have two Magnetizes stacked, but that is a thing you can do. So if there are just enough bubbles, maybe the projectile will stay inside. And again, I don't know if it will. I did not test this before recording this. Let's find out. So I wanted maximum range. Again, no Magnetize Discharge so that I can do two bubbles, but maximum range. And then a little duration. I just thought that was better for not needing to do this too quickly. I don't need to execute it very fast. Remember, because I'm trying to use Zada's Whisper to add more bubbles to help keep the projectile inside, which, anyway, we'll get back to that in a second, but that's the idea. I need to shoot a projectile in beforehand to do the thing and put some void procs on enemies to get the bubbles, and then switch off to Magnetize. And then deploy the Velocitus, and then shoot into the thing, and then hopefully it will do the thing with the thing and the swingy around. Hey, it just occurred to me, you don't need to use Zada's Whisper. You could absolutely just use an operator. Well, anyway, too late now. Righto. So I guess I need a weapon that will put the status on the enemy. Should be fine to just use whatever projectile flight time thing and then put a little punch through on it. So we'll just put like nothing on this and Seeker, and then this will get some void. Does it need status? Anyway, we'll find out. And then we'll do the thing, I guess, right? So spawn the enemies, Magnetize. Shoot this thing in there. We have void? Oh, I don't have the void thing on. There you go. Okay, whoa, 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 whoa! What? Why? What? How? Okay, so that one is stable. What happened to that guy? What's going on? Okay, so there's the... Quick, before anything else happens. Okay. They still have the void proc. Oh, no, they lost it. Okay, deploying the weapon is too slow. All right, here's what we do. We just use the operator weapon. In the end, it's all the same. And pow! Pow. Closer. Pow. Yes, here we are. So I lied to you a little bit. I didn't test the Zada's Whisper Void Proc and then Magnetize thing before recording those things, but I did do it before recording that little bit at the beginning. We're now at the story I wanted to tell you. So it looks like the Zada's Whisper Magnetize thing doesn't work. It doesn't really matter anyway. You can just use the Lanka or literally any other weapon. It doesn't have to be the Velocitus. I just had an obsession with making the thing work. The fact that the Velocitus projectile flies out somehow fascinated me, and I wanted to do that. But this video became something else when I realized, like, what was going on with that enemy flying around? What was that interaction? What's going on? So now we have to investigate, of course. I'm also going to add some efficiency. I think that there may be some merit in just making a ton of magnetizes. I was saying 2 before, and so I didn't want the augment because then you can't cast 2 in the same place. You'll just recast it and the first one will explode. Again, that can be fine. I talked about that in the framework, but in this particular situation, I want all the bubbles to contain the awesome power of the thing. That was the original idea. But now we're trying to figure out enemies exploding apart. And so I do want to be able to cast Magnetize a lot. So this went on for some time, and then I fairly quickly figured out that what's happening is the enemies are getting radiation, because the Mar-Detron has innate radiation, and then the enemies fly around like that. But the thing that strikes me as curious about that is that Magnetize is supposed to pull enemies in, yeah? And so how are they able to escape the magnetic pull? Almost like the Velocitus is escaping the magnetic pull. Oh. Wait, what? Magnetic pull. Oh. Alright. Scrap all of this. Get rid of everything else and just put all the strength. Infinite. Put on all the strength. Every last bit of strength. Where's growing power? That as well. And peculiar growth. And all the strength. Augur Secrets is not here yet. We need all King of the Strength. Power Drift. Hey, Power Drift is a mod. That deserves to exist. Get out of here, Peculiar Growth. Okay, 13x Magnetic Pull. Let's, a little range back on there. Okay. This time. Okay, whoa, ooh. Ooh. Will the mystery forever remain unsolved? I thought to myself. Will the enemies always be able to defy my powers of magnesis? Is magnesis even a word? Oh, that's the Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild power. Why am I like this? What even is my life right now? What am I experimenting with? What? Yeah, this fashion. So when I did the mag framework, I decided that I needed to show the Arcane Coil helmet because it gives you more range. And so that sort of mandated a new fashion, and of course this helmet is kind of janky looking, so I had to make something different. This was my original mag fashion. This is simply the true mag fashion. It's not that this one was inspired one way, and this one was inspired a different way. This one was necessary, and this one was desired. This is the mag fashion I actually want. I really like this one. I like it because it has a sort of angelic appearance. It gives Mag some majesty that I think she sometimes otherwise lacks. I don't know how this ephemera came off, but I like this too. It gives the feeling of a sort of divinity or like beyond the normal plane of existence. That's pretty much it. There's not a whole lot else going on here. I do think this skin is a little crazy. There are some bizarre metallics. As you can see, I went almost all grayscale, and then you can really make the joints pop, but it's really hard to include color elsewhere without it just being crazy because almost everything is metallic, at least some places, if not everywhere. And then you'll see the tertiary has sort of a metallic-y or like bony texture up there, and then a metallic on the ear, but it's just the lines down there. And then the same thing with the accent. There's some of it that is metallic on the halo thing and on the head, but then it's also some of the lines on the body. So a challenging skin to work with in that it's a bit restrictive. You can't just go crazy with colors, but otherwise I think it's really pretty. It's a skin that does a lot of work, I feel. And then the attachments, the Pakal chestplate adds a sort of similar glow effect to the joints, which I'm very enamored with this the way that the magnetic energy on the joints, the magnesis on the joints looks. So I put the spurs on as well. I think this skin really defies shoulder guards. It kind of already has shoulder guards. To me, the shoulder armor is a lot about broadness. And so once you have the sort of ratios that you want, like the amount of broadness of the shoulders and then the rest of the skin, I feel like the work is kind of done up there. Whereas the leg pieces are often to add some interest down at the bottom of the frame. That's how I think of them. So this skin was really what I was looking for. I don't know, it just gives Mag a very distinct, noble-looking flair. And then, of course, I went for the classic Rapala Sayandana, a fantastic piece of work, I must say. Anyway, I experimented for a little while longer. There's a whole bunch of lessons in here about making sure to test things before you assume that you need some other help, or feeling like you need to pour on and take out all the stops while overlooking some minor detail like the fact that Magnetize has a pull strength. It would have been pretty painful if it turned out that the pull strength is able to hold the Magnetize, the Velocitus projectile inside Magnetize, and then I just went on testing things without a care in the world, not noticing that the answer was staring me in the face. For my sanity, I'm actually very happy that there isn't a way to do it, because I would feel, well, I mean, there might be, but by the way, if you find out a way to do this, I better hear about it in, the comments, but also, like, send me a email, on Twitter, Discord, send me a message, please, for it's good for my heart. I need to know. Yeah, but I do think overall that this is an insight into the way I make builds, and the reason I wanted to show you it is because I thought it was fun. I feel like most of the time I want to make builds that are fun to play with, but some of the time I find it fun to sort of puzzle out and experiment with mechanics. But it is awfully fascinating to me for whatever reason, and I hope it makes sense how it demonstrates some principles about how I make other build videos. This is the sort of thing that you can't really do a lot with this information directly, but I think everything else that I make will make a lot more sense if you know that this is a thing that I do with my spare time, or in this case, my mainline content time. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did.